Wow. What a day in news, national news, local news, but today is a different kind of story. I was in the Bay County Courthouse today and I watched a judge vacate the convictions and the pleas and prison sentences of several people who were wrongly convicted. And it is so egregious that the prosecutors themselves brought the motion to the judge. So the prosecutors are State Attorney Larry Bassford's office. It's like a district attorney you hear about in other states. In Florida, it's a state attorney. Larry Bassford is elected, and his office convicted several people, and one of them had a 25-year prison sentence. And today they said, well, we'd like to have the conviction and the sentencing vacated because of concerns, big giant concerns of the evidence being tainted, to say the least, coming from the Bay County Sheriff's Office. Now, I got to tell you, WMBB, let me tell you about WMBB. They actually reported on the story. What the hell? Even a clock is right twice a day, evidently. They did a pretty good story, I think. I learned from the story. Credit where credit's due, right? Bernie, you just hate WMBB. No, I want WMBB to do its job, to report the truth. And wow. So what I'll do is, because I think they did a better job than I can do right now as I'm learning about this. But evidently, I'll tell you, it just feels, it reminds you when you hear about the possible planting of drugs, illegal searches, which I know firsthand they do. And it's a protocol. It's protocol for the Bay County Sheriff's Office to illegally search you, to go into your closed and gated backyard, to go into your home through your front door and take pictures and touch stuff in your home. Bernie, how do you know that? Oh, I have a badge cam of them doing that. That's how I know that. So that's regular police work. Oh my God, there's so much to tell you, but not all of it right now, but enough of it right now that you're not going to believe this. Imagine being sentenced to 25 years for drugs and possession of a gun, and if you're already a convict, stuff like that, and then you get brought from the state prison back to Bay County Jail, and you go in front of a judge, and they say, "Yeah, we have to overturn that because the evidence was bad." The evidence may not have even been there at all. Now, my understanding of this from the news story, from WMBB, from a written statement from the prosecutor, Larry Bassford's office, is he had no idea there was a fake informant. They had no idea that the Bay County Sheriff's Office was giving them bad evidence. Only there's a problem with that, a big problem with that. The guy who was sentenced for 25 years, he was convicted and sent to prison in February. But prior to that, he was suspended, this deputy, by Sheriff Tommy Ford for evidently having illegal drugs in his desk at work, instead of in the evidence locker. And there is a reprimand letter written by Sheriff Tommy Ford himself on December 6th to the deputy. Evidently, there have been at least two of these instances where the sheriff said, look, you've disgraced and discredited our office. Sheriff Ford was very serious about him having drugs in his desk. And Sheriff Ford took him off the U.S. Marshals Task Force, took him off the SWAT team, took him off the drug task unit. And he said, we can't really, you've disgraced the office. So I'm going to put you back out on patrol. Your punishment's going to be that you got to go out on patrol. You can't have all the cool guy stuff. That was the punishment. That was in December of last year. That's his punishment. And then because of that, Larry Bassford himself wrote and signed a letter. And these documents are on WMBB. WMBB doing a good report here. You can see them. One of them is a letter written by the prosecutor, State Attorney Larry Bassford, that on January 6th, a month before this particular guy who was sentenced for 25 years was convicted, they knew that the deputy involved in this case had all this going on. And so Bassford himself wrote what's called a Brady letter. And we know about Brady, right? Because we've been covering the James Finch and Margot Anderson stuff. Brady information is exculpatory information. And those who enforce and prosecute people, those who enforce the law and prosecute people who break the law, they're required by law to give defense attorneys any evidence that could show that maybe they didn't do it. It's called Brady evidence. A month before this guy was convicted in February, State Attorney Larry Bassford wrote a letter himself saying, hey, with regard to this particular deputy, there might be some exculpatory evidence. But they pursued it anyway. They prosecuted the guy anyway, sent him off to state prison. Well, they had to bring him back. And today he went in front of a judge, and the entire sentence and conviction's been overturned because of deputy misconduct and up to and including possibly the planting of drugs, a fake informant, and illegal searches. Do you know, you remember that story I did, the video I did about a week or two ago? I guess it was early last week, about the Millville Cemetery. It's got like almost 1 million views. And do you remember I was talking on there about the Panama City police office in that case and their false police report about the unknown passerby making a phone call about some suspicious people in the graveyard? Turned out it was WJHG, and it turned out the unknown passerby was Panama City's own assistant city manager, Jared Jones, who called police chief Mark Smith. And instead of sending somebody to do an interview, the assistant city manager, Jared Jones, called the police chief. The police chief had his assistant police chief, Paul Powell, go check on these suspicious individuals. They knew it was WJHG. They knew it was Joseph Mandeville and his wife. They knew it was just an interview about a rundown tomb where you could see the exposed blood. They knew all this, and they wrote a fake police report. That's illegal. No one does a damn thing about it. And remember, I said, geez, just last week I asked you, geez, how many people go to prison on fake evidence where the prosecutors know it's fake? The answer's a lot. Just ask Margot Anderson, Mayor Anderson, who the sheriff's office set up, and James Finch, who the sheriff's office set up. Holy shnikes. I cannot wait to see what this is. A rapidly developing story. I have a feeling there is a lot that's going to be discovered. Do you remember that video? I'm going to show you the video. You remember the video of Lynn Haven police chief, the vulgar and vindictive Ricky Ramey? You remember when he got caught lying and saying that he never said anything about city councilwoman's Judy Tinder's sexuality, and then there was a text message that came up where he was calling all these vulgar and disgusting things. And so he was really mad that his word was being questioned. Do I have this? And he went up to the council. I may not have it. And he says, the thing I fear most in this job is not being shot, but it's falsely putting somebody in prison. Here it is. I don't believe you, Chief Ramey. And evidently, this is not limited to one office around here. Watch Ricky Ramey pretend that's the thing he fears most, is putting an innocent person in prison. Watch the faux outrage. And remember, he's the guy that, as a favor to his bro, put a woman in jail because she was becoming a problem to a guy who was having an affair on his wife. Watch.
I'll tell you, Miss Tender, my biggest fear in this job is not being shot. My biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail. And that's all I have to say.
Any other public commentary?
That was just last year, and he was with the sheriff's office for a long time. High-ranking brass. All right, I'm going to show you the WMBB news story today, and I'm going to give you as many details as I can. All right, but first, of course, I want to thank a couple of sponsors.
Hand caught in the cookie jar? Sometimes bad habits continue even into adulthood. I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right, so let's see if hopefully I've got this done right here. Hopefully this works. All right, let's take a listen to the news story today. WMBB, I'm so glad to be able to say that this looks like an actual real news story. Okay, watch.
Internal investigation into a Bay County Sheriff's deputy is already being felt in the court system.
Accusations against the deputy have led to the dismissal of several criminal cases. As News 13's Jack Hull tells us, at least one judge is also vacating convictions.
An unusual sight at the Bay County Courthouse Tuesday morning as 3 defendants got the option to vacate either their convictions or their plea deals.
Stephen Stottlemyre, case number 22-1333, and that's the state's motion to set aside the plea and vacate judgment of sentence.
This began with an investigation by local defense attorneys Rusty Shepard and Bill Gunter into a Bay County Sheriff's deputy.
Under Florida statute, there's a vetting process. They're required to have some very specific rules that are intended to, when they intend to use citizens as a tool of law enforcement, there are some very specific things that they have to do to ensure the safety of the informant as well as the truth and credibility of what they're saying.
9 cases, including several major meth trafficking defendants, were connected to Bay County Sheriff Deputy Aaron Williams. Williams served in the Special Investigation Division at that agency. Florida's confidential informants laws have been strict for more than a decade. The primary law is named after Rachel Hoffman, a college student who was killed in a botched drug sting in Tallahassee. It's meant to protect police informants and the public from unreasonable searches by law enforcement.
This is a tragedy. This is a failure. This is a failure of the system.
But the investigation into Williams turned up even more issues. Last December, he was suspended for 40 hours, placed on disciplinary probation, and removed from the Special Investigations Division, the SWAT team, and the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. Special Investigation, or SID as it's known, handles drug investigations. A report into that internal investigation states that Williams had drug evidence which was not submitted to an evidence locker. Other local defense attorneys connected to these cases say that investigation raises questions about Williams' handling of evidence in his cases, and in particular, whether the evidence found on defendants could be trusted. Over the last few weeks, there's been a change of status in the cases of at least 9 defendants. Jesse Patrick and Kenneth Taylor took plea deals on amphetamine trafficking charges. Those plea deals now vacated. Trafficking charges against Ellery Dobbins, Mark Elking, Christopher Swan, Amber Fry, and Tarandell Coleman have now been dropped. And the conviction and 25-year prison sentence of Steven Stottlemyre has been vacated. He was convicted on 18 felony counts of trafficking, possession of a firearm, and possession of meth. Despite the order to vacate, his fate is not yet decided. This case has not yet been dismissed. But it is unclear how the state attorney's office will move forward if the investigation into Stottlemyre is now tainted. Other cases are still working their way through the justice system. Bay County Sheriff's officials say that Williams is on administrative leave and under an internal investigation. They say Florida law, specifically the Officers' Bill of Rights, prevents them from talking about Williams until the internal investigation is concluded. In Bay County, Jack Hull.
All right. So, evidently, this is like the 3rd internal investigation. Remember, the person who was sentenced to the longest term was 25 years, and he was convicted and sent to prison in February. But before, this is what I don't understand, and I want to learn about this. Why would the prosecutors continue to prosecute that man? His name is Stottlemyre, Steven Stottlemyre. Why would they do that if the deputy involved in that is the one who is in his 3rd investigation at the sheriff's office? And my understanding is it's because they kept finding, or they found drugs in his desk, the same kind of drugs, I think, that kept showing up on these people who were being convicted and sent to prison. This guy Stottlemyre has been in state prison since February. According to that news story by WMBB, the lead prosecutor, Larry Bassford, the state attorney, they got wind of this in August, and they immediately looked into it. And now it's October. And after it took them all that time, what's a few extra months in prison? Now, here, I'm going to tell you the craziest thing that I saw today. This is the craziest thing I saw today. I'm watching this in the courtroom, and I don't know how the rules work. I'm learning a lot more about how this stuff works from watching the federal case with the persecution of Lynn Haven Mayor Margo Anderson. When can you imagine? They charged her with, when I say that, I'm talking about the feds charged her 64 counts of public corruption. They were all fake, dropped them all. James Finch had like 14 counts. They've dropped them all except one. And one jury was a hung jury because there's no evidence. And he's got to go back. They just try him as many times as it takes, I guess. He's got to go back. So I know a little bit more, but I don't know it in this state case. But I want to tell you, it's just weird. It's clearly not right. But I don't know if the judge has certain constraints that she couldn't do. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you in just a minute the strangest thing I saw there.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one. built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com.
Hey, I want to tell you this too. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, right? Whether it's Mexico Beach, Panama City Beach. Oh my God, I learned so much about Panama City Beach today. Whatever, Bay County, Panama City, whatever it is. You say, Bernie, I'm not always on your Facebook page. I miss a lot of stuff. This is how you can never miss another show, another story again. If you subscribe to my weekly, every Friday night I send it, you will see every show, even if you don't have Facebook. If you know somebody who doesn't have Facebook and you want them to see all the shows, sign them up. All you do is put the email. It takes 20 seconds. Bernie.substack.com. It's free. There's also a way, if you'd like, to support my efforts. You get the same content, but one way is to support my efforts. The other way is free. Bernie.substack.com. All you do is put your email in there. And every Friday, you'll get all the stories and all the shows. Bernie.substack.com. Okay. So it's just so disappointing. It is so disappointing. I know for a fact that the Bay County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Tommy Ford, I know for a fact they did it to me. I've got body cam footage of them doing it to my neighbor. They enter closed and gated backyards, which is completely illegal. It's an illegal search without a warrant. And it's just protocol. They search people's backyard as a matter of protocol. They call it exigent circumstance when it's not. And I'll prove that too. They also go inside your house. They will walk inside your front door if you're just your little kids there. I've got a body cam footage of an investigator at the sheriff's office last year. A teenager's at the door. Mom's not home. They talk to mom on the phone. Mom says, yeah, don't question my little girl, and whatever you do, don't go in the house until I get there. They go in the house anyway and start taking pictures and touching stuff. It's good police work. It's how you get people in prison when you want to. The only problem is it's catching up to them. All right. So it's unbelievable. And then Sheriff Ford has a deputy that evidently, according to the reports that are posted on WMBB.com, how's that helping them out? Where this SWAT member, this Marshall Task Force member, this drug enforcement member has drugs in his desk that I will bet you. That's why he got in trouble. Sheriff Tommy Ford wrote him a strongly worded letter on December 6th, 3 months before this dude was convicted, saying that he had discredited the sheriff's office. And so he demoted him. And he says, you can no longer work drug cases, but I'm going to put you out in a patrol car to pull people over. His name is Aaron Williams, Deputy Aaron Williams. Just in case you ever got in trouble from Aaron Williams. Now, even WMEB is reporting that it casts doubt on all the evidence in cases involving that one deputy. Do you think it's just that one deputy? And do you think Sheriff Tommy Ford, it was the right decision to say, look, man, you've discredited our whole office. I thought about firing you. This is in the letter, the reprimand to Aaron Williams. But instead, I'm going to put you out there to pull people over on the roads. I mean, is that the way it works? Is you just get demoted for stuff like that? We'd be going to prison for 30 years. Then you've got, once you get arrested and the prosecutors get a hold of you, right? That's State Attorney Larry Bassford. He's the prosecutor. By the way, Sheriff Ford and Larry Bassford are up for re-election in August. But the state prosecutor, I've seen his office several times. Oh my God. I've seen them try to influence the Mexico Beach election, by prosecuting Michelle Miller last year for sunshine violation, which was complete and utter bullshit. Of course, it was dropped, and they just wanted to damage her so that she wouldn't be a good candidate. Well, she won anyway. She's the mayor of Mexico Beach. They persecuted her. I know of several people who were prosecuted by Larry Bassford, the state attorney, tormented for a long time, and then the cases are dropped for no information, which means there's no evidence. You remember what they did to James Finch's wife? Remember when they arrested her on cocaine possession? And it was so absurd that several months later they had to drop that case too. There is something. When I have a falling out with the sheriff's office, they raid my backyard. They circle our home and said they thought we had stolen a Glock. Sheriff Tommy Ford's office, Sheriff Tommy Ford, and Public Trust Unit Jimmy Stanford, and all of them said, well, Bernie, we thought you guys stole a Glock. We thought there was a stolen Glock in the house. We had to surround your home and break in your backyard. First, they just said it was stolen AirPods. But when I went to see him and said, guys, I thought we were working together to clean up public corruption for 5 years. They said, no, Bernie, now we think that you have a stolen Glock. Really? This is dirty, dirty. I'm going to look at your comments. I mean, this is dirty, dirty. Let's see. They don't plan on. Yeah, I got a feeling he's not going to be on the witness stand. Let's see here. I can't verify these, but your comments matter. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's what you get, Scott, for commenting on this page. You comment on this page, you might get surrounded. This is former Sheriff Nick Finch, my good friend, who was with me. Oh, Sheriff, it's so good to see you. No longer the sheriff, but Nick Finch was the sheriff of Liberty County, wrongly persecuted by Governor Scott, won that. That's how we met. And was my last guest on my radio show. It was August 1st, 2014. I finished the show, and Sheriff Nick Finch was with me. And do you remember that, Sheriff? I'm going to tell you the story. So we finished the show. I had a radio show. It was syndicated throughout Florida, 8.5 years, #1 ranked show. It's a big deal. But they weren't happy with me because I was telling the truth and I was criticizing Jay Trumbull, Rick Scott, and Marco Rubio. He said, you can't criticize Republicans. I said, even if they're wrong? Yeah, even if they're wrong, you can't do it. Well, I did it anyway. And so after that show, Sheriff Finch and I were going to go have lunch. So he went out to his truck, and I got fired after the show. Who remembers when I got fired from Talk Radio 101? And I went downstairs, and I said, Sheriff, they just fired me. He said, what the hell? So we drove through, you remember this, Sheriff Finch? We drove through Whataburger, and I gave him a $10 bill for my stuff. He threw it back in my lap, and he said, you ain't got no money, man. You just got fired. I really appreciate lunch that day. And then we did what anybody would do. You remember that? We went to the No Name Lounge that afternoon. And my general manager met us there, and she cried and hugged me. And remember that, Nick? And said that it was wrong and she had nothing to do with it, and she left the building because of it. Her name was Melissa, and she's fantastic. Greatest manager they ever had. What a day that was, Nick. And now you're back. Watch, I'll get fired again from my own show. All right, I got to get rid of this. God, what a day. Let's see. Gosh, I have so many comments. Forgive me for looking at. Michelle remembers she worked with me then, or she before then actually. Oh, Mayor Anderson. This is Mayor Anderson. The raid on ECS when the fake invoices were planted. Oh my gosh, was not an FBI raid as public records was made to believe. It was a Bay County Sheriff's Office warrant. The fake invoices used to prosecute me were conveniently lying on the top of a box of trash. Mayor Margot Anderson, the most popular mayor in the history of Bay County. They planted fake invoices and they indicted her on 64 counts in 2020. They dropped them all. And now that out of 79 total charges indicted, counts in the indictment, which are charges, total against Margot Anderson and James Finch, 78 out of 79 have been dropped. And if you count the ones on Antonius Barnes, it's like 83 out of 84 or something have been dropped. There's one left. And they say they're going to retry James Finch October 24. I don't believe it. They didn't even arrest anybody for taking a bribe. There's nobody could have been bribed. It's unbelievable. Why are they doing these things? Wow. I can't believe it. I got Mayor Anderson here and former Sheriff Nick Finch here. This is unbelievable. All right, I'm gonna punch out because that's all I know right now. But that's a lot. You ever get the feeling that it's just a tip of the iceberg type thing? Tragically, after talking to Sheriff Ford last year, after they surrounded our home, he said, Bernie, we thought there was a stolen clock in your house after we've been working with you for 5 years to clean up public corruption. We had to go in your backyard, Bernie, in case you guys tried to escape out the back door. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes out. I hate this is happening to Bay County. But there's going to be a lot more to report. And I'm glad I'm not the only one doing it. So let this be heard. WMBB, go to WMBB.com. I can't go on the Facebook page because they've blocked me. But go on WMBB.com and take a look. They did a big story on this. It shows they actually can report the news when they're not involved in the actual conspiracy, the crime against good people. They can actually do a news report. I didn't know if they had forgotten how to do that or not. Evidently, they can. All right. I want to, of course, thank, as always, those of you who support my efforts. Oh, is it ever needed? Thank you so much. Becoming a patron is like giving a tip, like $5 a month. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's anonymous. It's easy, and you can quit at any time. Those of you who crowdfund and support my efforts, thank you so much. I don't say thank you enough, but it matters to me. And also, of course, the Unknown Patriot, thank you for your support as I try to find out what's going on around here and tell you the truth. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I'm not the only one covering this story. I'll have to read WMBB. Today, I found out a lot of stuff from WMBB. Thank you, WMBB.